tragic life of Donny Hathaway ended in a way that no one expected. At just 33, this musical genius who gave us This Christmas and Where Is the Love was found dead beneath his hotel room window in New York City. But what if the truth behind his death wasn't what they told us? What if the official story was hiding something darker? The more you dig into that story, the more questions arise about what really happened that cold January night in 1979. Donny Hathaway was born in Chicago in 1945, but his real musical journey began in St. Louis. Raised by his grandmother, Martha Pitts, a professional gospel singer, young Donny was singing in church choirs by age 3. By the time he could barely reach the piano keys, he was already being called a prodigy. His musical influences were incredibly diverse. While most kids his age were listening to pop radio, Donny was studying classical composers like Ravel, Debussy, and Stravinsky. He mixed this with gospel, jazz, and R&B to create something completely new. Even as a child, people could tell he was different. His grandmother knew she was raising someone special. At Howard University, he met Roberta Flack, who would become his most famous collaborator. But Donny left college just before graduating in 1967. His calling was too strong to ignore. The music industry was calling his name. His first hit, The Ghetto Part 1, launched him into stardom. He composed the theme for the TV show Maude and gave the world the timeless holiday classic This Christmas. His duets with Roberta Flack, especially The Closer I Get to You and Where Is the Love, put him on the pop charts and made him a household name. Everything he touched turned to gold. But by 1971, at the height of his success, something started going wrong. Donny began showing signs of severe depression and unusual behavior. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, a devastating mental illness that would slowly destroy everything he had built. The timing couldn't have been worse, just when the world was finally recognizing his genius. The medication was primitive in the 1970s. Donny was taking 14 different pills twice a day just to function. But here's where it gets tragic. When he felt better, he would stop taking his medication. This created a vicious cycle. He'd improve, quit the pills, then crash harder than before. His family watched helplessly as he spiraled. His delusions were terrifying. He believed white people were trying to steal his voice and connect his brain to a machine to steal his music. He thought people were plotting to kill him. Friends watched him scream randomly at secretaries and isolate himself for days at a time. The man who once brought joy to millions was now living in constant fear. The illness destroyed his career. For 5 years, from 1973 to 1978, he recorded almost no new music. Recording sessions had to be canceled because of his erratic behavior. His mental state caused a huge rift with Roberta Flack, ending their partnership for years. The music industry didn't know how to handle mental illness back then. Even worse, his marriage fell apart. His wife Eulala became afraid for their children's safety and separated from him. The people who loved him most couldn't help him anymore. He was becoming dangerous, unpredictable, and completely isolated from the world that once celebrated him. When he finally returned to record The Closer I Get to You with Roberta in 1978, it seemed like he might be getting better. But it was just another false hope. The demons in his mind were too strong to stay quiet for long. January 13th, 1979 started like any other day. Donny was in New York for a recording session with producers Eric Mercury and James Mtume. But something was wrong. His paranoia was worse than ever. He kept saying white people were trying to kill him and steal his sound. The producers watched in horror as this musical genius fell apart in front of them. The session had to be stopped. His voice was still perfect, but his mind was in chaos. No one could have predicted what would happen next. Hours later, Donny Hathaway was found dead on the pavement below his 15th floor hotel room at the Essex house. The music world was shocked. How could someone so talented, so young, be gone so suddenly? Here's where the story gets complicated. The official ruling was suicide. The room was locked from the inside. The window glass had been neatly removed and placed on the bed. There were no signs of a struggle. The evidence seemed clear-cut to investigators, but his friends and family couldn't accept it. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who gave his eulogy, pointed out something strange. Donny was fully dressed in a winter coat and scarf. "No one gets bundled up just to jump out of a window," Jackson said. This detail bothered a lot of people. There were other suspicious details. 4 glasses were found in his room, suggesting others might have been there. Some whispered about mob connections and unpaid debts. Others pointed to the music industry's dark side and the pressure it puts on artists. The most compelling alternative theory involved Donny's dangerous habit. He was known for leaning out of windows, even from his 17th floor apartment in Chicago. He'd been thrown out of other hotels for doing this. Maybe this time he leaned too far. Maybe it was just a tragic accident. His manager said something that made the story even more confusing. He claimed Donny was in good spirits that day, having just written new music and performed with Roberta. How could someone go from happy to dead in just a few hours? The truth is, we may never know exactly what happened that night. What we do know is that Donny's mind was trapped in a prison of paranoia and delusion. He believed people were stealing the very essence of who he was, his music, his voice, his soul. Living with that kind of fear every day must have been unbearable. On his final day, witnesses said he seemed happy, even writing new music. But hours later, he was gone. This is the cruel reality of mental illness. It can strike without warning, even in moments of apparent peace. The brain can be the most dangerous enemy of all. What happened next reveals something ugly about how we handle mental illness, especially in the Black community. Donny's death became a taboo subject. Suicide was something people didn't talk about. Mental illness was swept under the rug. It was easier to believe in conspiracy theories than face the truth about mental health. His family struggled to accept the official story, not because they were in denial, but because the stigma around mental health made it impossible to have honest conversations about what really happened. They searched for other explanations because admitting suicide felt like admitting failure. But change was coming. His daughter, Lala Hathaway, became a successful singer and made sure her father's story would be told. The Donny Hathaway Legacy Project was created to promote mental health awareness, especially in minority communities. His tragedy was becoming a source of healing for others. Donny Hathaway's music was about connection, love, and healing. Songs like Someday We'll All Be Free and A Song for You came from a place of deep pain, but they made people feel safe and understood. That's the paradox of his genius. His suffering became our comfort. His twisted melodies reflected his twisted mind, but they somehow made sense to the rest of us. Today, his story is helping others seek help. Mental illness is no longer the silent killer it was in 1979. People are talking, getting treatment, and most importantly, staying alive. Artists like Amy Winehouse, Beyoncé, Alicia Keys, and John Legend continue to be influenced by his work, keeping his memory alive. He might be gone, but the healing continues through his music. Every time someone hears This Christmas or Where is the Love, they're experiencing the legacy of a man who gave everything to his art, including his life. His Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019 proved that his impact will never be forgotten. If you believe more people should hear Donny Hathaway's story, hit like and subscribe if you want to keep hearing the truths the world forgot.